We live, brother. Evandro,
Eddie,
welcome. Pleasure.
my pleasure, my honor, brother.
Good to see you. How's everything? How's life at the moment? How's everything where you are?
Healthy, passionate, ready. My family is healthy. My wife is healthy. My baby daughter is healthy.
I heard.
Sun, look
Congrats,
at the
brother.
sun coming through the window. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, absolutely.
How are you, brother?
No, I'm good, brother. Thank you for asking. Evandro, like I said previously, I'm not a podcaster. I'm a guy who connects to people. I like to record conversations because the message is powerful, because I believe the jiu-jitsu community need to hear certain things. And I believe your message that you kind of are beginning to come out with after a few conversations we have will enlighten a lot of people. And some people are for, some against, and some neutral. But I want to hand the space over to you and literally find out about Evandro. So I always like to go back to the beginning from early
Yep.
times, if
Yep.
that's okay with you.
100%.
From the beginning, Evandro, who is Evandro Nunes and what is he grateful for?
It's a great question, brother. So, some of you guys are maybe not familiar with my story. So, in a nutshell, I grew up in Brazil. And growing up in Brazil, for whoever have been there before, it's a completely different planet. Although we have cars and trees and grass like we have here in America, society works in a way that my words will not be able to describe. So much that nowadays I don't try to explain Brazil anymore to Americans, and I don't try to explain America to Brazil people anymore. Like they just we have to go and experience. There's a whole thing that words just do not um make justice. But the point being is that there was a lot of street fights growing up in Brazil. And I have a
Right.
dad that instilled strong sense of moral in me. Like basic but powerful things like, hey, speak the truth, take ownership for your actions, whether you did right or wrong, you answer for it, treat women with respect, treat men with respect, look people in the eyes, very kind of basic foundation. And because of that, Eddie, in a country of Brazil which is filled with injustice and corruption, that led
Mm,
me to a life of fighting because I would stand up for myself.
right. Just on that point, that life
Yeah.
of fighting, was that something that happened on a daily basis, or was that something that was just like, man, where I'm growing up, it's only the strongest survive. You fight or you perish. You live or you kind of
It was in a daily basis with that energy because
right.
the understanding is this: there's two types of death, in my opinion, Eddie. There's the death of your body that someone literally
Mhm.
beats you up and kills you, your body dies. But there's also the death of the spirit, where someone abuses you emotionally and mentally with manipulation and a certain invisible pain that your spirit, if I may use that word, takes a toll. Like your, you know what I'm saying? Like your life essence, like you
Absolutely.
just. So I
Yeah,
was a little bit about the life and death one because it was kind of real.
yeah,
The street fights are always real,
of
but
course.
most of my war is against the physical oppression of the spirit and of our essence, of our ability to speak the truth and be who we are, man. Like I'm a
So,
person
so
just like
like
you. I
grooming,
don't exist.
I would consider that to be a form of grooming, a form of
Mm,
spiritual abuse, grooming, manipulation.
yep. So
Yeah.
because of Brazil is filled with that, I had the choice. Very simple choice. I would either bow out to wrongdoing it
Mm,
and do nothing about it, or I would stand up and fight no matter the consequences. And
right.
because of my dad moral values that he instilled in me, and also because of loud inner voice that I had inside of me, I was like, man, let's fight. I never thought I was gonna make 30 years old, bro. I'm 33. I just
I
turned
agree.
33 right now. I was like, man,
Yeah,
because every day
congrats.
I'm fighting as if I'm gonna die because I don't know how to fight. I'm a
Yeah.
kid. You know what I'm saying? I see things happening that are wrong. I'm fighting. So
Mm. So
very
so
quickly I realized
trauma
that
trauma from an early age, that environment from an early age.
you did you say the word trauma?
Trauma, yes.
Yeah, I like the word trauma and I validate the word trauma. And at the same time, Eddie, it was a gift to be able to be exposed to situations in which I had to take a stand.
Mm.
You follow me? So although
Yeah.
there's trauma for sure, but there's also a gift, an opportunity for me to take a stand.
And you
That's what I did.
recognize that from an early age, this gift of both it
No,
being a gift and a curse, no?
no. I recognized that I was like 27, maybe 25.
Right. So from day dot or the time you were out in the streets of Brazil playing and whatever, from that point to the age of 25, this was an everyday occurrence for you.
The fights,
Yeah, this kind of spiritual war and the physical
yup,
war that you went through.
inside my house, because my brother would, me and he would fight, healthy fights between brothers and unhealthy fights as well, because he's 4 years older. So there's no way I would ever win fights against him. He was just so big. But nonetheless, it was a good test for me. And then
Right.
my dad as well, very physical with us. And then you go to the school, fights on the school. You go to the bus stop, fights on the bus stop. You go to parties if you want to have fun, fights. So just you're always fighting
Mm.
it. It's just
It
that
becomes the
life of a
norm.
warrior.
The trauma, both spiritually and physically, become norm, and we take that as a normal, and that creates a cycle. And
Yes.
here's what's crazy, bro. That cycle that we learn, that we're like a sponge as a kid, and we're looking and we're adopting this cycle, transcends us in our later life. It begins to follow. And you heard of the cycle of the repeated cycle. For
Yep.
example, a husband assaults his wife. You usually find he was assaulted as a child, or etc., etc., unless the cycle is broken, which is really important, which is very powerful, how to break those cycles.
And it seems like that's what the calling is right now, not only for me, but seems like for you as well. For us to be able to look at people that are in a journey in jiu-jitsu and kind of try to
Mm,
break cycles so we can actually empower the individual, right?
yeah.
And I have a little story here that I like sharing, which will just kind of exemplify the first myth of jiu-jitsu, which I really like to share with you guys. And the story goes like this. It was like 1995 in Brazil, rainy day. In Brazil's rainy days, they're very gray because of the pollution that is in the air. I'm 5 years old. My brother is 9 years old. That's when we were inside the house. We were not allowed to play outside the house due to violence. It's so violent. So my dad is working, my mom is working. Basically, who raised me was my brother, right? Because in Brazil, the financial struggle is so real that they're always working, always working. So then, after a long day, me and my brother inside the house, my brother has a new bicycle that my dad somehow went to a junkyard with scraps, bro, and like got it and fixed it up, and he gave to us. We were so happy, man. Like it was our new bike. I don't know how to ride the bike yet. My brother is barely learning, and it was a tall bike as well. So then we want to ride. There's no space inside the house. My mom comes from work, tired, man. Think about a woman raising kids, working two
Right.
jobs, boss, just freaking making it happen, man. In Brazil, it's just rough. And then she's like, hey, I'm going to the grocery store. And then we were like, yeah, let's go. Can we go with it? Can we ride the bike? And we all excited about it. And then she's like, like she doesn't want it. But after a while, she's like, all right, no problem. And then we go to the grocery store. On our way back, after my mom does groceries, she's carrying like 95% of the bags. I'm carrying a little bag. My brother's carrying some bags on the handlebars, and he's kind of wobbling on the street as we go home. My mom's carrying so many bags, and because she's not moving the bags, because it's just so many, I can feel the bag going into her fingers, when you're carrying bags for so long. And she's freaking making it happen, bro, like a warrior, man. Like a warrior. My mom freaking make it happen. That's when a guy comes on my left right here. He passes in front of me, and he stops in front of my brother. Boom. Gun on my brother's head, and he's like this. Get off the bike.
Okay.
I'm 5 years old. I look at him. I look at my brother. I look at my mom. My brother looks at my mom. We're just seeking instructions, right?
Right.
And then my mom, get off the bike. Let him take it. My brother stops smiling. The whole fun is gone. He gets off the bike. I can see that my brother's about to cry, but he's holding it in. Never seen my brother like that. The first time that I see my older brother kind of super submissive. And then I look at my mom. My mom's pale as you get. Helpless, man. What can she do against an armed, grown-up man with a gun and her two boys? And she's still holding the groceries, my man. I remember, she's just there. White, pale, and holding the groceries, bro. What'd you say?
Frozen,
man. And just like, hey, I never talked to her about this, but I can assumed that she was like this, man, just keep my boy safe. Very much like, whatever you want, leave,
Absolutely.
take the bike and keep my boy safe. So that's when I looked at him, my brother, I looked at my mom, they were not doing anything. And I was like, oh, they're going to let him take my bike, our bike. And then guess what? The guy hopped on and he started riding away. Bro, without a shadow of a doubt, without hesitation, without fear, I take my flip-flop off the same way that my dad used to before hitting us. I hold it in my hand and I start running after the guy, Eddie. Running, boy. Yelling, my man. 5-year-old.
With rage.
Huh?
Rage, right?
Rage, wrath, confidence, power. A 5-year-old fire-filled child, bro. And I'm running after this guy. And then tears down my face, my man. And the guy's kind of going, and I'm keep running, man. I'm running to the maximum of my body there. That's when I stop because this is just too far. My body's just not handling it. The guy looks back, and I remember him doing like a little evil smirk in the corner of his mouth, bro. I remember, my man. And then I'm just kind of there tasting my tears, salty sweat, and hyperventilating. And then boom, he's gone. So we go back home.
Pivotal moment for you?
I didn't realize that back then, but yes. It's a moment of worth remembering. Okay, and I'm going to connect on why in a little bit. So then we go back home. No one talks about it. My brother never talked about it. My mom never talked about it. My dad never talked about it. It was normal in Brazil. Okay,
right.
Like you just mentioned, like the grooming kind of normalizes it. You get normal with the trauma. They were normalized by the trauma. That was not their first experience. It was my first experience. So then I was, okay, something's going on here. I have to be aware of this, although we never talked about it. So then that's when there's many other stories, but that's one of the moments I was like, all right, man, I have to look out for myself because there's wrong happening. There's evil happening. And then I pursued this life, Eddie, of becoming this invincible man. You know, most of us start jiu-jitsu because we don't want to deal with injustice. We want to speak our truth, and we want to learn how to fight because we want to become good. And then guess what, Eddie? I became good, my man. With all love in my heart and humility and authenticity right here, I became good. That's all I did. I would go to school, and I would fight jiu-jitsu, and I would play some video games in the meantime. You know what I'm saying? To stay out of trouble of the streets.
What a life.
Bro, that's it. Fight, train, real fights, and then trying to barely making it because we didn't have many entertainment options. In Brazil, it's very simple, man. You eat, you study, you find a career, and it's just very basic. Yeah. So that's what I did. And then I have this unique privilege that I was able to do everything you can imagine inside the jiu-jitsu journey. From street fights in Brazil, from tournaments fighting in Brazil, tournaments fighting in America, and then I fought Metamoris, and then I was a world champion in 2013, and then associated myself with the biggest names in the community, teaching classes, teaching kids, teaching women, teaching celebrities in Beverly Hills, teaching law enforcement officers, which is what I do nowadays, which I'm very grateful for. I'm so grateful for the experience and the mentors and the people I've met. I've met thousands of black belts from competition to self-defense, connecting with you right now. There's just, as you know, that jiu-jitsu give us this ability to meet all these kind of people, meeting CEOs, meeting billionaires, meeting millionaires, meeting the doctors and experts in all fields, because we all connect through jiu-jitsu. So I'm unbelievably grateful for that. Now, here's the catch, though, to connect with the story. I always thought that once I became that man, that invincible man, per se, I would feel that wrath and that fire and that confidence inside myself. And every time I would achieve a status like a blue belt or a purple belt, I would feel that for like a week, and then it would go away. And I'm like, okay, so then I need a brown belt. Okay, so then I need the black belt. Okay, so then I need to be a Brazilian champion. Then I need to be a world champion. Oh, then I have to fight Metamoris. Oh, then I have to blank. Then I have to blank. And I always thought that I was not feeling that because I was not on that circumstance yet. So then I did everything that I can virtually imagine that I can do in the community. And then the fire was not there. The confidence that I use nowadays to deal with daily challenge that I still have it in my marriage, as a father, as a husband, as a provider, that confidence doesn't reflect literally. So my point being is that the myth is that people think that by training jiu-jitsu and becoming better jiu-jitsu, they're going to become more confident in themselves. And that is a lie. Does
Mm,
it help if you can defend yourself? Yes, and we're going to talk about that later. But
mm.
the truth, confidence, bro, a 5-year-old child filled with fire with a flip-flop running towards an armed grown-up
Young
man.
man. Yep.
Look, I'm not the best. I don't like absolutes, like 100% chance or 0% chance. But if there's anything that is 0% chance of success, is a 5-year-old kid with a flip-flop against a grown-up man with a gun.
Yeah. So that I would take that as being a pivotal point, that because you've mentioned a whole array of stuff there.
Yep.
On some of the points you made, I know a little bit about Brazil. I've been there more than a few times, but
Have you ever got
you're
robbed there?
absolutely right. I did actually, yeah. It did happen to me, yeah. I think it happened to everyone, bro.
There we
And
go.
one of the worst ones that happened to me, believe it or not, wasn't anything to do with people putting firearms on me or anything like that. It was I wore a very nice pair of sneakers to the academy, came out, was left with some beaten up flip flops, you know. So they exchanged the trainers for flip flops.
Got you.
Man, it's a learning lesson.
Yep.
But some of the points you raised are very valid, I feel, in the sense of you acquired all these accolades or you did all of these things. And going back to those things would be the point of zero. Where did you start jiu-jitsu? And what drew you to jiu-jitsu rather than capoeira or luta libre or any of those things? What was the attraction?
I actually started doing Vale Tudo, which is
Okay.
nowadays known as MMA. Back in the days, in
MMA,
Brazil, we just
right.
call Vale Tudo.
Yeah.
And what happened was I was 14 years old, brother. Life of fighting on the streets. And again, just so people listening understand, 14-year-old, I've been in, I don't know, 30 street fights so far, 0 jiu-jitsu, full confidence, full power, full like, oh, you want to fight? Let's fight. Like, you follow me? That thing, I think that's one of my biggest gifts, that I know life without jiu-jitsu. Therefore, I know that the confidence is not necessarily on jiu-jitsu, right? But back to your question. I got into a street fight. Long story short, the guy had butt me in the nose. We were talking very close like this, not respecting distance because I didn't know how to fight, just kind of cussing at each other like this. And then he, boom, headbutt me in my nose. I fell back, punched him in the face, full power, brother. The guy did like this. He took the punch, he came after me. I started running back, nose bleeding. And then I couldn't engage that guy. I was like, man, I just punched him full power. Nothing happened. He was much bigger than me. And I was like, all right, man. I just kind of backing out, running from the fight back and still cussing at him and whatever. So then he goes home. Fight is done. He cannot catch me. I'm very agile child. I go home. And, bro, for the next 2-3 months, when I turn sideways, there's a yellow liquid that comes out of my mouth. I think that's bone marrow. I'm not sure what that is. It's not mucus. It's not blood. There's just something that, depending on the angle that I lay down, this yellow thing comes out. And, bro, that's what made me angry. I was like, man, I'm fighting for what is right. I'm fighting to defend myself and those I love and the values that I believe to be right. And I know they are. Deep down, I know they are. And deep down, the people that are fighting against me know that they're wrong. It's very black and white. So why am I losing fights? That's when I was like, all right, I'm going to go to the gym. I'm going to become stronger. I got my boss back in the days. I would be a web designer as a 14-year-old. And then I told this story to my boss. My boss was very good friend of mine nowadays still. I consider him an older brother. He was like this, Evandro, you have to become stronger. He didn't know about jiu-jitsu. He's like, Evandro, you have to become stronger. Let's go to the gym. Let's lift weights, which is what he did. We went to the gym. He took him to the gym. On the first day at the gym, lifting weights, that was my goal. I was going to become bigger. As we walked in the gym, he says like this, I'm going to go to the restroom. Hold on. He goes to the restroom, which is by the training area. While I'm waiting for him in the restroom, I'm watching some guys do some MMA, some Vale Tudo. The instructor comes talking to me. He looked like Guy. You know Guy from Street Fight?
Yep. Guile, yeah.
He was a cop, sharp hair, scarred on his face. And then he looks at me and say, hey, what's up? What are you doing? I was like, I'm just waiting for my friend. He's like, do you want to train? I'm like, no, not at all. I'm just here waiting, man. My friend comes out. He's like, hey, let's go lift weights. And then at that moment, I look at my friends and say, hey, I'm not lifting weights. I'm going to join this class right here. Bro, right. I walked in, and then Vale Tudo back in the days was like this. Monday was boxing. Tuesday was Muay Thai. Wednesday is Jiu-Jitsu. And then we kind of keep cycling. you know,
Run
very
over,
little
yeah.
capoeira, only maybe on Fridays. So that's when by getting exposed to those martial arts, brother, what happened was I tapped my first person on jiu-jitsu. I was a skinny guy, and then I put an arm triangle on the guy that I didn't even know what I was doing. The guy was much bigger than me. I was holding it, and we all remember the first time we tapped someone with
Of
jiu-jitsu,
course.
because you don't put too much energy, and then you acquire a lot of results. I remember when the
Mm.
guy tapped, I let go. I was not even doing anything with the arm triangle, man. The guy was red, much bigger and shredded guy. I was like, oh my gosh, there's something here. So that's when I start channeling my power towards jiu-jitsu, because it was just so effective. It was unbelievable. If that answers your question, that's why. That street fight led me to become bigger. By divine intervention, or whatever you want to call it, I never even lifted weights on that day.
No, I hear
Got
you.
invited to
I
a
hear
Vale
you.
Tudo class. That's when I discovered jiu-jitsu, and then that's when I start pouring all my energy into jiu-jitsu.
And that Vale Tudo school, they were affiliated to some jiu-jitsu school that you then joined, and it forwarded from
Great
there,
question.
or how did that work?
What happened was the instructor was a purple belt, and he was a cop. So he would train with some other guys, but he would just teach out of love, because he just loved teaching. So no affiliation at all. It was just, there was actually no flag at all. We didn't even have a name. It was kind of the name of the gym was kind of, but that was nothing. That was just some people fighting in Brazil, bro, in a garage, in a corner of a gym. So when I realized, because what happened was this, I became so good under the instruction of this guy. His name was Mateus, man. Wow, what a mentor, bro. What a guy. And big Muay Thai guy, actually, man. His kicks was scary, bro. When he would be kicking the bags, we would just watch, like, wow, just admiration. Unbelievable. So then we became very good at jiu-jitsu. And then I realized that, unfortunately, he couldn't serve us anymore with jiu-jitsu. You know what I'm saying? His jiu-jitsu skills were limited, and we were kind of, we got to the master's level. So we need to find another way. So that's when I shifted. And then I discovered a gym, and then that was a jiu-jitsu school. It was Ryan Gracie. That was my first black belt, was under the Ryan Gracie's team.
Association. Right. Okay. So
which, as you said very hardcore.
Yeah, I know. Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. Notorious for that,
Yep.
You said something important there, in my opinion. You said you rose to the level of the instructor.
Yes.
The ceiling had been reached with the purple belt instructor, and you felt like there was nowhere else you could go after that. So you departed, or you kind of found another way, another school, went to high-end school, or?
Well, that's a great question, because it was kind of natural that what happened. And I don't take pride in this at all, but it's the truth, which is, once that happened, the instructor himself stopped teaching a little bit. Because it was nothing official. He was not making money out of it.
No,
there was just a natural, man.
Sorry to cut you there, but I just thought of something.
Yep.
And this plays right into your hands, actually, so don't start laughing. I actually cannot imagine rising to the level of my teachers. Right? Where I'm sitting right now, although it may be because of the regard I have, the love, respect, the iconic guys, or very nice people, whatever it is.
Wow.
But that thought there kind of is a suppressive thought for me. Does that make sense?
100%. Wow, thanks for sharing that, man. That is powerful.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
I don't know if it makes sense.
I'm going to repeat to see if I understood. What you said is that the thought of being on the same level as your master, as your instructor, it's a thought that you suppress, a thought that you don't usually contemplate. Is that what you're saying?
Correct. The battle I have is with the black belts I have here and my students of 26 years. I consider them equal. So those guys and myself considered equal, although we know technically we could be different.
Yeah.
But an iconic figure, someone who maybe we've put on this pedestal ourselves, or someone who keeps us on that you're not better than me, could never be better than me. But
goosebumps. I'm having goosebumps right here, Eddie. Are you aware of the depth of what you're sharing with us right now? That's very deep, brother.
Of course, of course. I'm very thoughtful. I'm very kind of, I'm very reflective of these things. And throughout our conversation, not just this, but previous conversations, this was one of the things I went and reflected on, because I can recall having this kind of conversation. Where does that fit into? And that what you said about the purple belt struck the chord with me. Where does that fit in with Evandro, with your message of the truth, of the myths, of all of this stuff that's happening?
Man, I'm full of goosebumps right now because, number one, thank you for sharing that. And you're right, you just place it right there for me to align with the mission and the talk. Worth mentioning that a little bit before that, before I started training jiu-jitsu, although my mom and my dad, they never even knew what I was doing. They were working, man. You know what I'm saying? My mom was paying the gym, which I'm very grateful she was able to do that. But the point was, my dad always told me this. Always, man. I would say, Dad, I want to be as good as you. I want to be like you. I want to be like you, bro. Looking up for my dad. My dad always, man. Every time I would say that, he would say like this: you don't want to be like me. You're going to be better than me. You're going to be better
than exactly what I say to people here. Exactly that.
Bro, that tells me a lot about you, Eddie. You understand? That tells me a lot about your integrity and your honesty and your, like, in what, and they're serving them, which tells me about my dad. And there's a quote that says like this: the only person that wants you to be better than them, it's your father. You know what I'm saying? It's a very father-like thing, man, to look at a son and say, hey, you're going to be better than me. So I'm very grateful that my dad said those things. So I never tried to be better than my instructors because, I want to be better than them. Neither my dad, I wanted to be better than my dad from my ego place. I was like, oh, really, Dad? Is it possible that I can be better than you? That's what my dad did for me.
Because that's the benchmark that we have, right? That's the benchmark that we have when we say, man, I want to be just like so-and-so. You know, and down to idolization, down to being told, and let's not get this twisted in any way.
Yep.
I believe that there should be structure, there should be a leader, there should be someone who points in directions.
100%.
But I don't believe that should be used in a negative tone. I don't believe that should be like, you know, it's this way because I'm telling you it's this way. Or you can only reach the promised land, but you can only reach the gates of the promised land. Because if you enter the gates, you're going to see all the weakness and the fear and the insecurity that I have.
And the myth, the insecurity, the lies. Yes.
Right. To some degrees, you know.
So, Eddie, that is the gift that we're talking right now, because I've been inside the gate. I've seen everything you can be seeing, in my opinion, inside the jiu-jitsu community. And what I'm basically doing is that I'm walking outside that gate, looking at everyone that is outside that gate of the black belt or of the titles or the celebrities or the last names or the legends of the icons, whatever it is that they're looking for and seeing on that gate. And I'm basically saying like this, guys, if that's what you want, if it's confidence what you want, you're not going to find inside that gate. And people inside that gate, they're not that excited to let you in. They need to keep a place of power and a place of distance, like you said, like a one-arm's distance, because that's how idolization works. And idolization is us giving us our power away, Eddie. There's a very clear distinction between being inspired by someone, like I'm inspired by you doing a podcast. I don't have a podcast. Maybe one day I will have one. I'm inspired by you by many ways. I was inspired by many people that did amazing contributions to jiu-jitsu, man. All the names you can imagine. They inspired me, but they're never an idol. Or they were, and then I got confused there. You see, and that's the goal. The goal is to connect with men, connecting with women, connecting with people of elites in performance, get inspired by them, but not to give our power our way to them, which is what you do, which is what you just told me. The thought of you being the same level or better as your master is self-oppressed. Why? We are the one, bro. Let me tell you this. Besides my father, I never, ever heard a jiu-jitsu instructor or a friend or anyone look at me in the eyes and say, hey, you can be better than me. And that's what I'm doing for other people. I look at all my clients and students, and they look up to me. When they start putting me in an idolization place, I was like, stop. You are the one. Have you watched Matrix before, Eddie? Have you watched Matrix before?
The Matrix? Absolutely. Yep.
Neo is the chosen one.
Yeah.
That's
Right.
my thing right here. I'm the chosen one, bro. But guess what, Eddie?
Mhm.
You are the chosen one. And I look at my students in the eyes. I was like, hey, do not put me in a pedestal. You're the chosen one. If you don't show up for
Mm.
yourself, no one will. If you don't go train, no one will train for you. If you don't speak your
Mm.
truth, no one will for you. So that's basically what it is. The empowerment of the individual instead of the lie, like, hey, what I heard growing up was like, oh, you're not a black belt yet. You're not a brown belt yet. You're not a world champion yet. And when I was a world champion, they're like, oh, you have to be a world champion 2 times. Oh, that's what we see, man. That's why people,
All the
they
time.
win the world tournament, they take their gis off, they show their shredded body, which they deserve, they work hard for it, and then they raise a number. 7 what? 7 times world champion, working for the next 8th time, and then what? And then you're 12th time, and then what? Are you happy? Are you fulfilled? Are you empowering people around you, or are you just blind by the black belt?
Right. So nice quote. Very good quote, that blinded by the black belt. The point you made, which is very important to me, was when you said that you can do all of these things, you can become a world champion, etc., etc. But my question is, why Evandro? Why is the community not speaking up? Why Evandro as the voice? We have so many people, and this actually plays into my hands because
Yes.
there is grooming. There is this thing of, I'm a black belt, I know everything. I'm this, I know,
How long you train jiu-jitsu for,
listen,
Eddie?
say again, sorry?
How long you train jiu-jitsu for?
26 years.
So you train jiu-jitsu for 26 years. You've seen a
Right.
lot. So
I've
that's
seen
why
a
you're
lot.
saying that there is grooming, that there is, because you've
Yes.
seen it.
Listen, I've been victim of it, some way, shape, or form, but that's another thing. My
Yes.
thing is, why Evandro? And second to that, you were talking about the belts, hide the myth of the black belt, hiding behind the black belt. Do you wear a black belt? And if so, why do you still wear that black belt? Telling me what you've said.
Okay, question number 1. Why Evandro? Because
It's
my
the voice.
commitment, my commitment with truth is higher than my commitment to anything else.
Amazing.
Quick story. I was 14, 15 years old. My mom and my dad got divorced. Okay. Once they got divorced, they called me in and they told me something, bro. Listen to this, Eddie. My mom's crying. My dad is holding it in. My mom looked at me and says, no, I looked at him. I was like, Dad, what's going on? Like, looks like they haven't, like, we guys already divorced. What could be worse than that? They look at me and they said like this. I said, am I adopted? Is that like, that's the only thing that can come to my mind. Then my dad said like this, kind of. I was like, what do you mean kind of? So here's the story, Eddie. My mom cheated on my dad, got pregnant of me, came back to my dad, said, hey, I'm pregnant from someone else. Never told my biological dad that I was pregnant.
That's deep, bro.
Bro, you kidding me?
That's huge.
Huge.
Wow.
My dad looked my mom in the eyes and said, is that what you want? I'm going to raise this boy as if this boy is mine. My mom's like, yes. My freaking dad, bro, raised me as his own blood, installing me, like I said before, moral values and integrity, boom, boom, boom. But the part is that he's the one that was lying to me my whole life. Isn't that so interesting?
Bro, that's deep. That's
Bro, you ask why me? That's why, because at that moment, Eddie, I made a commitment to myself. I was in tears, bro, in the restroom, crying. My dad opens the door and knocks at the door, and then I open a little bit. He was like, why are you crying? Nothing's going to change between us, he said. I looked at him, bro. I remember, man. I looked at him up like this. I was sitting on the floor, kind of curled up in a ball, and I was like this. What are you talking about? I know that nothing's going to change between us. That's not why I'm crying. I'm crying because you lied to me my whole life. So at that moment, Eddie, I was like, I don't want people to feel like they're being lied to. I'm not lying. I am like a suicidal lie. Like, like I lie to my own detriment. Oh, sorry. I speak the truth to my own detriment. Like I just, bro, what I have to lose? Nothing's worse than a feeling of being lied to. And you know that's, and I never cheated. I never got engaged to people cheating on me. That I just got lucky on that aspect. But what I hear the most when people cheat in a relationship, cheating hurts. But what hurts the most is the lie of cheating, man. Like it just
Man,
hurts.
how were you feeling at that time, Evandro, when that bombshell was dropped? You saw both your parents. How old were you? 14?
14.
Man.
Oh, that's when I decided to take my life to my own hands, take the reins of my own life. I was like, all right, I have to train jiu-jitsu. I have to get in better shape. I have to study. I have to read books. I have to ask questions. Because the thought was like this, very simply put, was like this. If my dad was lying to me, then what else is not real? So now I'm awake, my man. What'd you say?
Matrix moment, right?
Yep. So now I'm like, yeah, there we go. I was like, oh, so hold on. So then I became awake, bro, like to the point of like questioning and asking questions. That's why I became so intellectual. That's why my ability to communicate myself, not only in Portuguese, but in English, became so accentuated, because now I have a life purpose of self-expression and questioning and understanding and seeking truth. So now I became a warrior of truth. That's why, and because of the level of pains and the fighting background, you see everything got connects it. So that's why, my man, because now I'm inside the community. I got people offering me money to teach them classes, and I'm like, no. Like celebrities in Beverly Hills. When I was quitting Beverly Hills, why did I quit Beverly Hills? Because the values that those people, and I'm not speaking generally there, right? Just the people that I was engaging with, was not in line with mine. I was like, man, don't care. I'm out. I'm going to teach police. I'm going to teach law enforcement officers, because whatever you guys are doing here doesn't align with my values. And then, bro, when I was quitting more than one time, hey, what if I give you double? What if I give you more money? Would you stay? And I was, bro, Beverly Hills, you can make good money if you're good at jiu-jitsu there.
I've seen it. I saw the academy there, bro. It's incredible.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? No, bro, like it's offensive that you're asking me that money would keep me here doing something that is unaligned with my values. And then that's number one. And number two, bro, is that I was also blind by the black belt. You guys have to understand that
Can you quantify that for me, Evandro, and for obviously people listening? Because that's an incredible, up to that point, that's an incredibly deep story. It's an incredibly powerful message. All of this trauma and the lies and everything you went through.
Yep.
And I've seen your quote, blinded by the black belt, or blind by the black belt. What does that actually mean? Quantify that to me. What does that, and to everyone, what does it mean to be blind by the black belt?
Being blind by the black belt means empower circumstances over yourself.
Say that one more time, please. Empowering
circumstances over yourself.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
In other words, empowering the belt. Only when I get my belt, I then will be able to. When I make more money, that will be blind by money. I will then be able to speak my truth. When I only do this X, Y, or Z, then I will be able to X, Y, or Z. And in the sense of self-confidence and empowering yourselves. And that's why I say that I was blind by the black belt, because I wanted to be a blue belt. Then I wanted to be a purple belt. Then I wanted to be a Brazilian champion. Then I wanted to be a black belt. Then I wanted to be a world champion. Then I wanted to fight Metamoris. Then I wanted to make money in jiu-jitsu. Then I wanted to teach. So on.
So yeah, absolutely. Man, okay.
That's the full turn.
That cycle, yeah. So with that, when we say blind by the belt, this would play into your hands again, that some instructors say you can only be a black belt if you conform. Or are you talking about instructors or just the people around us, the grooming society? They're not all like that, but some that say, because I'm a black belt, because I say, what are we dealing with here? Or all of the above?
I got an instructor one day. I was a purple belt. He was teaching a class, and then we had to move gyms or something. There was something political happening there. And then he brought us in and said, hey, guys, we're moving this school because we're not going to be here anymore. Still in the same team, but just the building, the association with the gym. And then he was asking our opinions. And then I asked a few questions. I remember saying, hey, what about this? What if we do that? And then, I was like maybe 17, and I was just asking questions. And then he said like this, hey, why are you asking those questions? I'm like, no, I'm just trying to understand. And then he was like, you're disrespecting me right now, asking me questions.